Hey everybody, Coach Stacy Lynn here, and today I have an update that I want to share with you. And this is the type of update that I really don't like to share because it can be completely misunderstood and misconstrued. But if you're new here, I want to welcome you to my channel, ask you to consider to subscribe because one of the things I do on this channel is I call out baloney in the church. And that's what this video is going to be about today. Because I am so sick and tired of watching people who worship these leaders who don't even think clearly about what they're actually doing. And so, if you're new, I want to tell you a little bit about me. I've spent over 20 years doing Christian media. In fact, my old channel was banned by YouTube a couple of years ago. And as a result of that, doing my old show, Bible News Radio, one of the things that I got to do was I actually got to interview people, a lot of people. In fact, there's me interviewing. Well, actually, I was meeting Jonathan Cahn, but I actually did an interview with him at a prophecy conference that I covered about in 2017. So here's a couple other people. There's Mark Hitchcock, there's Jeff Kinley, there's that's Jeff Kinley, I think. That's David Hawking. That's my friend Carl Teichribb and his wife Leanne. There's my husband and Carl. There's Michael Lake. There's Bill Salas. And there's me and Jonathan Cahn and my husband. So the point of this video is to point out Jonathan Cahn, though. So I want to let you know I've actually met this man in person, and I was so excited, as you could see. I was completely excited to meet this guy. In fact, just so you know, I don't get excited about meeting many people. I've interviewed so many A-list people that it didn't matter. But when I met Jonathan, this was almost 10 years ago. And it was way before, um, a lot of the garbage that we're living through now has happened. And, I used to be a fan, but I'm not now. And I'm going to tell you why I'm no longer a fan of Jonathan Cahn, or a lot of the people that are out there these days. Attacking Candace Owens, right? Now, before you get your panties in a twist because you think I'm defending Candace Owens because you think I agree with everything that she says, let me just tell you, I don't. I don't agree with everything Candace Owens says. But I also don't think the way Jonathan Cahn and other Christian leaders are treating her is anything remotely like Jesus would have them do. And this is where I have an issue because in Christian media, one of the things that I've noticed, and I've learned this over the last 25 years, I've watched people get thrown off Christian radio who were telling the truth about sin in the church. Why? Because Salem Radio and Moody Radio and other places like that, they don't give a rip about the truth. What they care about is money. That's what they care about. Don't ever forget that. Christian media is about money, people. And I'm going to tell you something. I know this because I worked for 20 years for free doing my show. People always say, "Oh, no, I was just a little no-name podcaster, blessed by actually very blessed to meet so many cool people. I've met some very cool people. But you know what? I am done. I am so fed up because today's discourse is that you have to just pounce. And this is the narrative of the Christian right. And I'm going to tell you this as somebody who knows, okay? I was involved hardcore in the Christian right for a very long time. Janet Parshall used to be my hero. And she taught me actually through her program that how to engage the culture, right? But some of these people treat people who are no names like garbage. And they get away with it because they have the name and they bring in the money. That's what happens. I've been the victim of it. I've had so many people insult me. And yet, at the same time, when I was doing my show, my moniker was sweet and lovable. Why? Because I am sweet and lovable people. That's why. But I also have boldness. And this is what breaks my heart is that you can no longer in our culture state the actual truth about something without somebody calling you a name, right? Now, I call out false teachers like Perry Stone. He is a python on steroids. That guy lies through his teeth and he misuses scripture. And eisegesis is exactly what he does. Jonathan Cahn does the same thing, people. And so rather than go into a big whole rant about this, I'm just going to show you the video I'm talking about why I'm upset. And I am upset. I'm actually angry. I'm angry on behalf of not just Candace Owens, but anybody who ends up taking to quote Janet Parshall, whoever she quoted, the slings and arrows of outrageous criticism, because that's what it is. It's just criticism, right? And today we live in a society where you can say whatever the heck you want about something and they can label you and call you a name and beat the crap out of you and dox you and do whatever the hell they want to you because it's their right. And the issue, however, with Jonathan Cahn is he is Jewish, right? This man is Jewish. I'm going to show you something. You can't get much more looking Jewish than that, can you? Look at that smug face, you know? You can't get much more Jewish than that. You know who else is Jewish? Me. I have a lot of, well, not a lot, but I have a little bit of Jewishness in me. And you know what's really interesting? I'm going back through these papers here. I want to show you, actually, I think I called him Jeff Kinley. That's not. Who is that? That's Tom Hughes. Sorry, Tom. Totally forgot about you. March Hickok. Okay, right here. Okay, so you know who this is? Um, yeah. So this is Bill and Claudia Koenig. Okay, Claudia is now with the Lord. And Bill Koenig, he is an expert on all things Israel, right? Okay. Well, at this particular conference, Claudia, bless her heart, she actually said to me, she goes, I think you might be Jewish. Do you think you're Jewish? And I said, maybe. I don't know. I don't know why you're asking me that. But the thing is there is that. That's Sharon Gilbert. That's me again with Jonathan Cahn. And there's Tommy Ice. And there's Tom Horn, the late Tom Horn, who actually called out a lot of stuff. There's a whole bunch of us. Um, there's Dr. Andy Woods and his wife, Ann, and there's just some other people here. This was our big dinner. That's Randall Price. There's JD Frog. I'm going to tell you something about JD Frog. I'm not positive, but I think JD Frog this was probably the last conference that he did, I think. And I'm going to tell you something about JD. JD is the real man. JD Frog is a man who truly loves the Lord, and he will call out. In fact, he is the only person who has told the truth about Benjamin Netanyahu. But see, you don't say the truth about Israel because how dare you? Because if you actually say anything negative about what's going on in Israel or who the people are that lead Israel, well, then you're anti-Semitic. And by the way, I also know Olivier Melnick, who is Jewish, and I met him, and he's probably somewhere in these photos as well. But I'm going to tell you something. I'm not anti-Semitic. When I lived in California, I actually had an Israeli flag hanging in my house and outside my house. I am wearing right now a necklace that says Yeshua on it. So I am anything but anti-Semitic, but I am truthful. truthful. I'm truthful. I'm not truth. I am truthful about stuff that goes on. And the Christian right, what the Christian right does is they worship at the altar of, if you bless Israel, then you'll be blessed. They take Genesis 12:3 and they take that, and that's their banner. They walk around, they hold it. And if you say one wrong thing, or if you say anything the Christian right and NAR disagrees with, then you are going to have the crap beat out of you verbally, at least, like Candace Owens has. And that's wrong. It's flat out wrong. And I am so sick and tired of it. And that's part of the reason I'm making this video, because yesterday, March 11th, 2026, I pulled up this video. Let's see here if I can see if it flips over here, of this Mr. Cahn. And I want to call him a con artist at this point, because he goes and he makes this completely vicious video about Candace Owens. And what a smug, arrogant, wicked, evil person this man is. You know, he actually, and I'm not going to play this video because I don't want my video to be taken down, but this man is smug and he's a liar and he doesn't know how to actually do what scripture says, which is to give a reason for the hope that resides within him with gentleness and respect. No, all his channel does is bash people. That's all he's doing. And I'm going to stop sharing here just for a second because I want to bring up one other thing here. You know, he goes ahead, and I'm going to try to get to the right thing here. Yeah, I'm right here. He puts in that video, and I even hate showing this video to you because I don't even want you to go see it because it's so ugly. It's just vicious. It's satanic. You want to talk about satanically inspired? That video is. What an ungodly, unchrist-like, completely pharisaical thing for Jonathan Cahn to do. Completely. It's like he doesn't give a rip about Candace Owens at all. And the problem is there are a lot of these guys now doing this. And you know what? They're not even listening to Candace Owens. And that's the part that fries me. And when I say fry that, what I mean is that makes me really angry. It fries me to no end because they're not listening to her. What they're doing is they are lying about what she's saying. And I'm going to tell you something. A couple of months ago, Candace Owens, her podcast was #1 in the world. #1. And you know why? Because people like me started to listen to her. Why? Because people kept talking about how anti-Semitic she was and how evil she was. And I'm just going to be honest. I'm 57 years old. She's what? I don't even know how old she is. She's probably young enough to be my daughter. Okay? She's young. I didn't even know who the heck she was because I don't follow this stuff. I didn't know even who the heck Charlie Kirk was. Frankly, still don't care. Right? But here's what I know. Um, all of a sudden, everybody is tuning into Candace Owens. Why? Why are they tuning into her? Because they want to hear what she has to say. Because all these Christian pastors, these Messianic rabbis, are bashing her now, all calling her anti-Semitic. Why? Because she's stating what's going on with Israel. And she is bringing forth information that the Christian right will never bring forth. They will so not bring it forth. They won't call out sin. They won't call out abuse. That's why you have Julie Roy's doing it. That's why you have Mike Winger do it. That's why I'm doing it. That's why other people are doing it. Because bought and paid for, quote, Christian Zionist media will never do it because there's money behind it. And believe me, I know this because I've been in this field, but I've never been paid for my work. Okay. So this video, I went to one of my favorite websites and I used Notebook LM. This is a Google thing. And I just put in the link to that video, and this is the little summary of it. I'm going to read it, okay? Put my glasses on so I can read it better. So it says in this video transcript, Jonathan Cahn delivers a stern critique of Candace Owens. It wasn't a critique, it was an attack. That's a big difference. Comparing her public commentary to the irrational and harmful rhetoric found in a psychiatric ward. You know what he did was he took video from an old movie, old black and white movie, and where they used to villainize mental patients, right? And what I'm going to tell you today is that uh, people who've gone into, quote, mental wards or a mental hospital to get help, they are not even remotely depicted that way in real life. He argues that her recent claims regarding Israel, the Jewish people, and various Christian figures are not only baseless conspiracies, but are also spiritually dangerous and potentially demonic. You want to talk about conspiracy? Messianic Rabbi Jonathan Cahn has made his freaking career on conspiratorial teaching. I'm going to say that again. Messianic Rabbi Jonathan Cahn has made his freaking career on conspiratorial teaching. Why the hell do you think he's so damn popular? Because he doesn't open the Bible. He doesn't open the Bible and read it in context. No, he is an eisegesis guy, just like Perry the Python Stone. What he does, and this is so typical of Jewish teachers, is they read into the mystical aspects of things and they find mysteries right there in the scripture, as opposed to just read it and teach it line upon line, precept upon precept. No, all of a sudden there's the harbinger and there's all of this other stuff. And Jonathan has been attacked and critiqued by people who have actual discernment. So for him to attack Candace Owens for her conspiracy theorists is such a hypocritical thing to do. Completely hypocritical. Completely. That's hypocrisy on its on steroids. So he argues her recent claims regarding Israel, the Jewish people, and various Christian figures are not only baseless conspiracies, but also spiritually dangerous and potentially demonic. He basically called her demonic, said that she was demon, definitely influenced by demons. She may as well be a demon. The disgusting thumbnail he used of her just shows his contempt. And then he warns his audience that engaging with such content defiles the mind and financially empowers deceptive behavior that contradicts biblical values. Oh my gosh. Can we talk about complete hypocrite? Jonathan Cahn, who sells garbage? Jonathan Cahn, who promotes eisegetical teaching that's completely unbiblical most of the time? He actually talks about if you engage with Candace Owens stuff, it's going to defile your mind and financially empower deceptive behavior that contradicts biblical values. Pot calling kettle? Are you kidding me? That's exactly what this guy does. He urges believers to distance themselves from her platform and to avoid spiritual infection and moral compromise. You know why? Because if you actually listen to Candace Owens, I'm just going to stop sharing just a second. If you actually stop and you actually tune into her, you're going to find that what he just said is a complete lie. You know how I know? Because I listened to her. And I may not agree with everything Candace Owens says, but what I'm going to tell you is that rabbi that all these people are bowing down and worshiping to because he's a Jewish guy, he hasn't proven anything that she said wrong. Not one. He hasn't done a video saying, oh, wait, Candace Owens got that wrong. Wait, there's proof about this and that. Blah, 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 blah. Nothing, people. And that's why I'm mad. And that's why I'm doing this video because I don't want you to miss all that video is from Rabbi Cahn is an ad hominem attack on Candace Owens. Never mind what she says, right? Don't even look at it. Oh, we don't even want to don't it's not, we don't want to look at what she actually said and lay it out in a video. A couple days ago, I did a video about Perry Python, Python Perry. I did a video. I showed you exactly what he said, and I showed you what the Bible said. And then I showed you the scripture after the verse that he left out and didn't even talk about it. Messianic Rabbi Jonathan Cahn, who's got loads of money, influence, and he's Jewish. Don't you know? He's Jewish. He's Jewish. Rabbi Jonathan Cahn is Jewish. Oh, so you can't say anything negative about Jewish people. Nope. You can't even question. Why? Because he's Jewish. And what they do is they will call, oh, the Jewish people have been persecuted all throughout history and blah, blah. And you know what? The truth is, yes, Jews have been persecuted. Do you know why? Because Jesus is Jewish, Yeshua. And in order to attack the line of David and try to wipe out the Messiah for Israel, of course the Jews are going to be persecuted. But frankly, a lot of what I'm seeing today is frankly brought on themselves. And I will bring up a point in a minute, but I want to get back to this synopsis of this video. So here are just believers to distance themselves from her platform to avoid spiritual infection and moral compromise. Moral compromise? What? What? Moral compromise? Candace Owens, did she do something immoral? What? All she's doing is asking questions. And then he promotes his upcoming prophetic cruise. Of course he does. And his Holy Land tour, which is scheduled through 2027. And then he serves as a religious exhortation to prioritize scriptural truth over sensationalism and slander. What a load of garbage. What a load of crap. You know, the type of crap when your dog poops and it's mushy diarrhea type, it's a pile. That's what that is, right? That is a pile of crap. And it's so hypocritical. And this is the interesting thing is if you actually listen to Candace Owens, what she has done and where she has come from is where I've come from. I used to be so far right that I jumped on everything far right. And if you've known me, some of you have known me a long time. This is why you're still watching because you know I'm truthful, right? This is how, and if I'm wrong about something, I would be the first person to say, "Oh, I screwed up," and that's why people have watched me and that's why they support my ministry. I used to volunteer for Concerned Women for America, for Eagle Forum, for all the far right Christian stuff. I used to be a Trump supporter. I waved or wove the flag of Christian nationalism. I mean, I know, been there. But then when I started seeing the hypocrisy of the Christian right, I got really disgusted because I saw the Christian right leaders cover stuff up. Like, for example, many years ago, you may recall Mitt Romney ran for president, right? Mitt Romney is a Mormon. He puts on magic underwear. He does Mormon-y things, which is cultic and part of Freemasonry. Okay? True story. Do your research. You'll find this out. Well, they had Mike Huckabee up. They had to choose. The backroom deals were all about Mike Huckabee and Mitt Romney. And they actually chose Mitt Romney, the Mormon. The Christian right did this. Those Christian right people that you're supporting with your financial dollars, they did this. They chose Mitt Romney over Mike Huckabee because Mike Huckabee is fat. He's fat. Yeah, he was a Baptist pastor, but you know what? He was so fat back then. He was a big fatso. Big, big fatty. So they chose Mitt Romney, the skinny, good-looking guy. Okay? This is a true story. You can believe me or not, I don't care. It is true. And I'm telling you that I began seeing this stuff and I'm just like, oh my gosh. Tom White from The Voice of the Martyrs, he was the head dude up there. He commits suicide on the campus of The Voice of the Martyrs, which was founded by Richard Wurmbrand, who was a persecuted Christian in Romania. Tom White was heralded as a persecuted Christian, and he spent time in a Cuban prison. And everybody, oh, Tom White is so awesome. And then a number of years ago, I think it was around 2012, Tom White killed himself because he was under investigation for child molestation. Really. And what happened? Christian media pretty much swept it under the rug. They don't want to talk about it. I was actually the editor of their blog at that point, and I was told, you don't say a word. I'm going to give you a pre-written thing you put on the blog. Everything else, though, I had to say, it was me. And then I listened to Janet Parshall and Todd Nettleton cover that up. They didn't even mention it. So I find the recent things with Candace Owens interesting with the Romania connection because I happen to know that Tom White was a pedophile who was he killed himself because he was going to be under investigation. And it's my speculation. I cannot prove this because the chief of police had to drop the investigation. But it's my speculation that if he had lived, they would have had ties back to Romania and other places Tom White went on his missions trips. So this stuff Candace Owens is bringing up to me isn't very far-fetched. She recently spoke about Masonic things. Do you know that most Southern Baptist churches are filled with Masons, Freemasons? But as she recently talked about in one of her videos, it's not the Freemasonry of your grandmother or your grandpa. Also, she shows a Freemason Bible and the stuff that goes in there. Well, guess who else talked about all that stuff? I will tell you, I have a picture with the guy. Let's see if I can find it. Wait, I'm going to go ahead and go here, go back up here. I'm going to go back to my page here, and I am going to just find the picture before I show it, so I don't have to show you all these people here. But I'll show you who talked about Freemasonry. That guy, Tom Horn. Tom Horn, who was considered an outcast in Christian media, and he was zealous. A lot of pastors wouldn't actually listen to him because he actually had the nerve to publish books and stuff like that. And this smug guy behind him, that guy was his bodyguard because he's so big that, it was a miracle I could even stand next to him. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But he actually told the truth about some stuff. And that's the thing. How dare you, though, tell the truth about Freemasonry and different things like this? I'm not saying I agree with Candace Owens on what she said about Erica Kirk or whatever, but I will tell you something that there's such a vitriolic, unchristlike, unbiblical attack against Candace Owens from so-called Christian leaders and pastors and Messianic rabbis that it makes me want to watch Candace more. You know why? Because if they are so upset about her just bringing up history, what are they hiding? I'll tell you a very interesting conversation that I had once. And let's see, I might even have a picture. Let's see here. I'm going to go through some of these pictures. This was from a conference. You're not seeing them as I am, but I'm going to see if I can find it. And if I can, I will show it to you. Let's see. No, that's not it. Okay. So let's see here. Maybe I can just scroll through these really quick because there is a picture I'd like to show you. And if I can't show it to you, then I can't show it to you. There it is right there. Okay. Here it is. All right. I'm going to show you this picture. All right. You see this picture? See this guy right here? Do you know who that is? That's Bob McGinnis. He wrote this book, The Deeper State. Okay. The eminent final empire, Lieutenant Colonel Robert McGinnis. Why do I bring that up? Well, not only did I have the opportunity to talk to Robert there, Bob, but I also had an opportunity to interview him on my podcast way back in 2017. And he told me, and I'm not going to say the names because, it's not important, but I will tell you that he told me that certain people on the Christian right are very fully aware of the deep state and all this stuff going on. And they won't say anything because of money, people. Because of money. You can't say anything negative about Israel or anything like that because it upsets the apple cart, so to speak. You start saying it, and then next thing you know, all hell's going to break loose because how dare you say anything against God's people? And yeah, what's really funny is these guys aren't sharing the gospel. They're actually not teaching you why Israel is important. They're not actually teaching you about how Israel rejected their Messiah. They're not teaching you any of this. They're selling their books at prophecy conferences and they're making money and they're doing all this stuff and they hate you because you might say something negative about Donald Trump or whoever the heck. And I'm telling you that you need to be discerning. If you're listening to somebody and they're not lifting Jesus up and they're not telling you the gospel, and all they're doing is throwing ad hominem attacks at somebody who's just asking questions, then that should tell you something. This whole thing is surrounded Charlie Kirk, right? I actually know people that knew Charlie. I didn't know him. I had no desire. I didn't even know who the heck he was until Jack Hibbs started talking about him. And Jack Hibbs, I have red flags about that man too. I've been to his church. I've watched him. He's a pretty boy who enjoys the camera. He sounds good, but there's something off about him. I'm telling you, I don't know what it is. I've told my husband this for years. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. But he has a love affair with the camera and media. I'm going to tell you that much. And that's my discernment because I read scripture, I observe these people, and I'm telling you, be aware. That's why I'm bringing this up. These men are freaking hypocrites. All of them are. Not all the people in this video, but Jonathan Cahn in particular is who I'm talking about. He is a damn hypocrite. If I've ever seen a hypocrite on steroids, it's this man. Candace Owens doesn't bring in the money that she does with her show. She does affiliate through her thing. I mean, give me a break, you guys. I swear. So, Jonathan Cahn is a con, and he can't handle the truth. And that's why he doesn't want you watching somebody who has a differing opinion than him because he can't handle the truth. Because he's greasing his palm. And he's doing it and really, really representing Jesus very badly. And you know what? I'm going to tell you something. Yeshua had harsh words for people like him. He called them whitewashed tombs. He called them hypocrites. And I'm calling them to repent. Like, who am I? Whatever. I'm just a stupid podcaster, just a girl who smiles and laughs and giggles and stuff. But I'm telling you something. I'm telling you the truth. And a whole video of ad hominem attacks on Candace Owens without addressing one thing that she's actually said. And I'll also tell you this too. And I got to end this because my dog's getting a little bit upset there. But the whole thing with Charlie Kirk, I find very fishy. Just like when President Barack Hussein Obama came to the forefront and there was this big weird thing about him and his inauguration and stuff. The whole thing with Charlie Kirk is bizarre. Very weird. It is weird. And I'm a Christian, I'm a conservative, I am a lover of Israel and God's people. I actually am part Jewish. Apparently, I have the nose and the curly hair. But what happened with Charlie Kirk is weird. It is one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. Just like Trump getting shot and how he had no trauma reaction, no trauma response, kind of like sociopaths. Very weird people. And we live in an age of deception where you can do whatever the heck you want. But I always look at why are people getting so mad at somebody for asking questions and putting out an idea, one that they don't like? Why? Maybe because they're getting close to the truth. Or maybe because it's taking money away from them and they don't like it. I don't know. But what I do know is if it smells like a fish, it's a fish, people. If it smells like crap, it is. And that's what this is. That's what that is. And you can't say you haven't been told because I just told you. So, with that said, I hope you have a better day and I'd love to hear your thoughts. You can leave a comment. I'll see you in the next video. Oh, it turns out I forgot to share one other thing with you guys. So it's a good thing I watched the video before I'm posting it. So I forgot to share with you a very important article, and I want to share it with you now because this author makes a really good point. So I'm going to share the article with you. Remember, I told you I was going to share something else with you? Well, here it is. So this is published on Moment Mag. I have no idea if this is a liberal, conservative. I have no clue. But when I saw the title, Jewish Villains, does fighting anti-Semitism require calling out the tribe's most notorious criminals? I thought, oh, I should listen to this. This is actually quite a lengthy article. But you see all these guys, they're all Jewish. Yeah, they are. And this is what this guy says. Um, and you're welcome to go ahead and read this, but he writes here, he says, but I've also wondered whether something else is called for. That is to apportion some responsibility for the upsurge of hate to the fact that the last 2 decades have produced a roll call of rogues with unmistakably Jewish names. Bernie Madoff, Sam Bankman-Fried, or maybe it's Fried, I don't know. Harvey Weinstein, maybe it's Weinstein, who knows. And Jeffrey Epstein. The first two financial fraudsters, the latter two sexual predators. In response to the considerable and long-running scandals they have stirred up, not much has been made of their Jewish roots. But I would argue that it's worth pondering whether their crimes have perhaps provided anti-Semites or anyone who harbored long, smoldering resentments of Jewish achievement or prosperity, or had even more preposterous motives with a license and the ammunition to assail Jews. Why did I bring this up? I just bring this up because it's never been actually brought out in the media. All these guys, these four, were all Jewish. So it's like, how come nobody ever brought up the fact that they were Jewish? They were all Jewish, right? So it is interesting. It is interesting to think about. Candace Owens has brought up just pointing out some stuff. Oh, yeah, by the way, they're Jewish. You know, there's nothing new under the sun. I just wrote a new book called Consider the Time, all about Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verses 1 through 8. And there's nothing new under the sun. Nothing. There's time to be born, time to die, etc., time for war and time for peace. The Sanhedrin of Jesus's day, he rebuked for lying, and they rejected him as their Messiah, which is why the time of the Gentiles has been brought in, which is the time that we're in now. So if anybody gets upset about rebuking a Jewish rabbi, which is what I've done in this video. Just so you know, my rabbi, Yeshua, rebuked a whole bunch of them. And because they were not being anything like him, they weren't promoting him, they weren't talking about him. So don't forget that, people. Just saying. Now, I hope you have a better day.